everybody. Meeting comes to order. Let's go. Welcome to Toastmasters, everybody. Viewers at home, Toastmasters, and honored guests. We're glad to have you. Could you introduce yourself for a minute and then talk about what you're excited about with Toastmasters?
My name is Rapunjay. I teach in the university, MUM. I'm excited to see how this club works, and if I like, I would join. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you. Thank you. Hey, how do I pronounce your name? Is it
Rapunjay.
Rapunjay. Rapunjay. Nice. Good to have you, Rapunjay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Randy, and I'm just here to audit tonight. I haven't been here in a long time. I was at a couple other meetings years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to have you. Thank you, Randy. I'm Dennis Chomez, our president of this club, Golden Speakers. The mission of the club, the mission of a Toastmasters club, is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. It's our duty, and we enjoy it, to make everybody grow their communication skills. Glad to have you all. Let's get things started. Let's introduce our Toastmaster of the evening, Susanna McCann.
Welcome to this evening's meeting. Our theme for this evening is the dog days of summer. There's a quotation, dogs have boundless enthusiasm but no sense of shame. I should have had a dog as my life coach. It's by Moby. I'd like to welcome our guests also this evening and ask the members of Toastmasters who have roles in our meeting tonight to introduce themselves and the purpose of their role. Fraser, could you talk about your role as a timer?
Good evening, and I'll be the versatile timer tonight. We have, I'll be timing the prepared speeches tonight. We have 2 speeches that are 7 to 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes in length. So the green light will come on at 8 minutes, the yellow at 9, and the red at 10 minutes. And we also have a prepared speech, one prepared speech that's 5 to 7 minutes in 5 to 7 minutes in length. The green light will come out at 5 minutes. The yellow light will come in at 6 minutes, and the red will come on at 7 minutes. And for table topics, which are 1 to 2 minutes in length, the green light will come on at 1 minute, the yellow at 1.5, and the red at 2 minutes. And all the speakers have a half a minute they can pause for half a minute before they start, and they have a grace of half a minute after the red light come on. So that's my role tonight, to make sure you hit.
About evaluations.
Oh, and I'll be giving a report at the end, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Manoli, you're the grammarian for this evening. Could you please explain that role?
I'm the grammarian for this evening. I will be taking note of colorful uses of language and encouraging you to use the word of the day, which is versatile, capable of or adapted for turning from one to another of various tasks, fields, or endeavors. Thank you.
Now, the odd counter, Alex.
Hey everybody, I'll be keeping track of the filler words, like, you know, so, but, and, tongue click. At the end of the meeting, I'll be giving a 1-minute report, and you might be best advised keeping track of mine. This is my first time, bear with me. Am I leaving anything out?
I think that's great. Why do you bother to do this, Alex?
This is to improve you so you know what you're doing wrong, and I know from my experiences it's helped me out quite a bit, and then we can kind of regather our thoughts and regain our composure and find out what we're doing wrong, and I think that helps us quite a bit.
Just trying to cut back on those things.
That's right.
Very good. Thank you. And our greeter and joke master for this evening is Kashyap.
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow members, honorable guests and viewers at home, it seems that with every passing week I am becoming more versatile. So keeping up with that spirit, I will be playing the role of joke master, right? And towards the end of the meeting, I will be telling some jokes. Thank you.
Our general evaluator for this evening is Emery.
You'll just hear from me later.
Yes, he'll be conducting another part of the meeting. And I, as a Toastmaster, keep things going a little bit during this section of our talk, which is the prepared speeches. We're very fortunate this evening to have 3 prepared speeches, and the evaluator for each speech introduces the speaker, and then the speaker gives a talk. So I'd like to call on Leslie, to introduce the first speaker of the evening.
Tonight I have the pleasure of evaluating Marko Janic. He's already completed the manual, but he will be giving speech 10 again, which is inspire your audience. The objectives of this speech are to inspire the audience by appealing to noble motives and challenging the audience to achieve a higher level of beliefs or achievement, appeal to the audience's needs, emotions, using stories, anecdotes, and quotes to add drama, and to avoid using notes. This speech is 8 to 10 minutes. Marko Janic was born in Belgrade, Serbia. He moved to the USA with his family in July 2012. After a few months, he went back to Serbia to finish his last year at college and graduated with a degree in environmental engineering. Marko came back to the US in October 2013, and he's currently working at the NUM Recreational Center. Marko loves life and loves growing, exploring, learning, challenging himself, and being a positive influence in the lives of others. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home, join me in welcoming Marko Janic.
Such a warm welcome, thank you. Guests, viewers at home, and fellow Toastmasters. Tonight I will share one of the stories of experience I had been through recently. A few weeks ago, I decided to visit New York and attend the personal development seminar. This was my 3rd time on a seminar, but it was a little bit different experience because this time I was part of the crew. It was a seminar, it was I'm not sure how many of you are familiar, Anthony Robbins. This time, this seminar is called Unleash the Power Within. So this seminar, it was the biggest one until now. It was 14,000 people. It was in the arena in New York, and it was amazing. I stay at Manhattan, my cousin's place. I didn't know where, I knew that the event is gonna happen in New York. That's how they commercialized, but I wasn't know exact location where it is. Due to my financial deficit, I had to be economical on my budget. So I had a cousin that lives in New York, and I stayed with my cousin. The one thing is, my cousin was 1 hour away from the seminar. You know, that wouldn't be such a big issue if the seminar, it was just an ordinary seminar, a few hours a day, and then you go home. This seminar, just for ordinary participants, it will start at 8 in the morning and it will finish 1 in the morning. And we, as a part of the crew, we have to be 1 hour earlier and stay 1 hour longer. So usually when I'm here, I go to bed around 10 o'clock, and I love to sleep on average around 7 hours, 7 to 8 hours. And I feel when I don't have enough sleep, I feel tired. And this time, day by day, I slept on average 2 to 3 hours every night. And it was I was ridiculously tired. Every time I woke up, I was thinking I wouldn't have strength. And by the end of the night, I had so much energy, so much passion, so much life that was ridiculous. And I was like wondering where all this energy is coming from. Yes, it was 14,000 people in the arena screaming, dancing, celebrating life. But I was tired. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat very well. How did I have so much energy? I had the honor and pleasure to helping 500 people to walk across the fire, across the charcoals. They're long 12 to 15 feet. And it was an unbelievable experience. I high-fived over 3,000 people when they were coming in. My hands were, I had to go at the toilet and put them under the cold water because it was really painful. But I kept my smile. I kept my smile on and I was going on. And people around me, they were just wondering, where you get all this energy from? And it just dawned on me. Energy is always around us. I was thinking that I don't have energy. Energy is always, everything is energy. We learned that from the physics. There's a matter and energy. And matter is just energy that is in slower state of vibration. But what I was doing actually, I was giving energy to people, and they will bounce from the people and come back to me twice as stronger. And the more I gave, the more it came back to me. And it was unbelievably amazing. And that told me to think. I heard it many times, when you give without any expectation to receive something in return, you will receive much more. And I will always think about it. I was thinking it's true, but I'll never embrace that so much. But in this case, I was just giving just for the sake of pleasure, because I really enjoy. I really want to see people smile. I want to see people happy and enjoy life. And at this time, I just gave and I received so much. And not only that, I realized that it is really true. And it doesn't relate only to energy, it relates to everything we do in our life. Everything that we give away, we receive when we expect the least. The reason I share this with you today is we walk through life every day, day to day, doing our own things. Scientifically, research said that we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day, and 90% of these thoughts are recycled, the same thoughts happening every day. I'm just wondering myself and for all the people around me, how many moments in a day, how many minutes and hours in a day we just walk mechanically. Not feeling, not thinking, not being aware of what the energy and the things around us. Recently I went to a couple of acting classes and I learned one exercise that was so useful for me. Since then I've been practicing it. It made so much change in my life. It may affect you as well. You can give it a try. My coach is really experienced, you can say successful. He told me, I asked him, I have a problem how to stay present. I become nervous and I try to act to be somebody else. So what should I do? How to try to stay present? He said, focus on your feet. I said, focus on my feet? Like, yes. He said, feel your feet. So what's that mean? How should I feel my feet? So I tried it, and it really worked. It really blew me away. And the first time it wasn't in such amount, but the more I was doing that, the more I was aware of it. And even now when I sit to eat lunch or have a conversation with someone, I try to keep both of my feet on the floor. And I feel the feet, I feel the energy going from the ground. It's ridiculous, from the ground through my feet. And I become aware of it, and it immediately calms down, makes me present. So that's something that works for me. It may work for you. But the reason I'm sharing this is that I really believe that if we each and every one of us is more present in this life and giving more unselfishly, just from the heart, just to describe who we are, not because you want to expect something in return. Whatever you give is just saying who you are. You're just expressing the greatest version of yourself. So I'd like to challenge you, or just suggest to you, tomorrow when you wake up in the morning, just ask yourself 2 questions. How can I be present today? Like, how can I add value to someone? What can I give? What can I give that is my gift, that is unique to me? What is that I have, that I do with most ease, the best? What is that gift, unique gift that each and every one of us have? And using that gift, how can I add value to people? And for each one of us can be different thing, and it is. You have to a little bit search and explore to find your niche, what it is. But once you find it, I truly believe there is no greater pleasure than just to give life and energy to other people, because what you give away, that's what you receive. If you want to just repeat with me once, all together. I want to give my life away. I want to give my life away, because what you give is what you receive. Thank
you. You'll probably see these little slips of paper. Could our timer, we'll have 2 minutes to fill this out regarding Marco's talk. And now I would like to invite Dennis, who is the evaluator for Will's talk, to come up and introduce Will's talk.
Thanks, Jennifer. Our speaker, Will Burns, will be giving his talk on good government in general, and understanding, just discussing that, about how we as humans hold a wide spectrum of views regarding government in general. But in general, Will believes the debate on government centers on what good government is. Should government be caring and compassionate? Should it be as small as possible? Should it be a fiery avatar of death, relentlessly pursuing our enemies? This 8-part series highlights how our search for good government led us to where we are in the early 21st century, and where we might go from here. Today in part 2, the empire strikes first, imperialism examined. We are discussing 3 empires, the effect they had on their subjects, and their legacy as the sun set on each empire. Please warmly welcome Will Burns. The executive summary. Every speech must have a general and specific purpose. And the objectives for this speech are to select a speech topic and determine its general and specific purposes, organize the speech in a manner that best achieves those purposes, ensure the beginning, body, and conclusion reinforce the purposes, project sincerity, conviction, and control any nervousness that you may feel. Strive not to use any notes. Will's speech will be 8 to 10 minutes long. Thank you, Will.
With the defeat of his enemies, Augustus ascended as the first Roman emperor, ushering in 200 years of hegemonic peace for the Roman Empire. Now, the first thing he had to do as part of his administration was to craftily use propaganda to convince the Roman people and the Senate to put aside their history of conflict and conquest and adopt a new policy of imperial administration. This was more challenging than it might appear to be, but as the able propagandist, he was able to convince them and move forward. Now, there are several things you need to maintain an empire, one of which is a professional army and administration. A professional army did 3 things for the Romans. 1, it meant they no longer had to rely upon an as-needed force that had to be recruited, trained, and equipped to deal with the crises, and could instead be available all time. Furthermore, the Roman legions, being comprised of organized, physically fit individuals, and when not on campaign, was used frequently to drain swamps, construct bridges, and build roads, improving the infrastructure of the Roman Empire and allowing it to connect those disparate elements together. Thirdly, after their 25 years of service, veterans would often settle in the hinterlands, in the frontiers of the empire, contributing to the stability there as well. In fact, the modern city of Cologne started out as a humble veterans colony for Roman veterans and grew into the thriving metropolis that it is today. While Rome's military and administrative prowess gave it a tremendous amount of hard power, it was the political policy of Romanization that projected the soft power of Rome, something that was necessary as at times up to 90% of the population within Rome's borders were native non-citizens. Now, there's a number of things that appealed to the local elites to want to Romanize. They were awed by the military might, and many of them could appreciate the sophistication and comfort that a Roman lifestyle would bring as a citizen. Roman citizens could enjoy such things as the right to property, the right to stand for political office, the right to sue and be sued, and the right to a legal trial. And while the Roman Romans did not allow women to vote, they put a strong emphasis on family, and Roman women could own property and file for divorce. Furthermore, they did have a policy of slavery in the empire and used them extensively, both in the farms, fields, and quarries, mines, domestically in the households, and in an interesting twist, many physicians and accountants were slaves as well. Now they could be freed, and if so, any children they had would be born full Roman citizens. Interestingly enough, about half of all the Roman slaves in the empire were owned by the Roman elites, which comprised 1.5% of the population. Proof that 1%ers remain strong throughout history. But eventually it was time, and they stagnated. Well, it was time for another, go back. It was time for another empire to rise up. You probably already guessed. They stagnated, and others rose. One of which that rose was the Mongol Empire in the east. Now, the Mongols were actually helped in their ambitions by climate change. In the early 13th century, the Mongols experienced a particularly mild, warm climate in the Mongol steppes, allowing them to have many well-fed, strong horses for their campaigns. They started by conquering China in the north and west, employing many Chinese administrators to run the empire, and also embracing aspects of Chinese culture as well. They employed a policy of general freedom of religion to some extent, as long as they did not cause trouble. If the subjects caused trouble, they enjoyed collective punishment, which caused a tremendous amount of collateral damage, but did mean that the subjects tended to police themselves, ironically enough. Subjects also enjoyed a postal system so efficient that the US used it as the model for the Pony Express centuries later. And in fact, the riders on the Pony Express could not match the regular distance records made by a Mongol rider doing his everyday travel in the course of his duties. Now, the Mongols did several things. They contributed to the international trade system, building roads, and facilitating, acting as the gatekeepers between East and West, facilitating the flow of people, goods, and ideas. They introduced a passport system allowing travelers like Marco Polo to travel throughout. And introduced such ideas as the European ideas of insurance, bills of exchange, and banking innovations for trade with the East, while Islamic advances like algebra and astronomy moved out and into scholars in Europe and Asia, in East Asia. As with the Romans, it was political factors internally that caused their downfall. While a strong leader like Genghis Khan could unite all the Khanites, unfortunately, later leaders faced bitter competition from their rivals. And eventually, the great Mongol state split into 4 distinct Khanates, allowing many subjects to throw off the Mongol yoke and go their own way. One of the peoples that did this were the Slavic Rus in the Grand Duchy of Muscovy. Now, they were used by the Mongols to collect taxes, so they had experience with administration and with handling money from the Mongols. And thanks to the policy of freedom of religion to some extent, the Eastern Orthodox Church moved to Moscow, giving them additional prestige. When it was time, and they saw their opportunity, they expanded. Now let's jump forward a few centuries here. While the 2 most recent invasions of Western Russia in 1812 and 1942 were disastrous for the invaders, this was the exception, not the rule. Prior to that, everybody from the Turks, the Poles, the Swedes, the Tatars, the Mongols, the Teutonic Knights, and others ran roughshod over Muscovy lands due to the lack natural geographic barriers to them. So when they had the chance, they expanded, secured every natural border they could find, every natural geographic border they could find, and secured it with one problem. The northern European plain offers no geographic barrier, and that's the route that Napoleon and Hitler ended up taking. This meant that they had to maintain a strong stand army to basically avoid this, and forced them to retreat back to the eastern Ural Mountains. Now this worked as a backup strategy during wartime, but during peacetime meant that they had to subsidize and support the eastern part with the more prosperous west. With 160 ethnic groups speaking 100 languages, it was very difficult to keep the Russian Empire together. So they needed a very strong collective security, or centralized security service to do so, to maintain internal unrest to a minimum, and a large chain of wars to deal with external threats. Now, paradoxically, the search for security and the instability that having this huge force created was a vexing problem that the Russian Empire faced until it collapsed in 1917, that the Soviet Russia felt as the Soviet Union, under the Soviet Union, and the modern-day Russian Federation experiences today. Looking back at these three empires, we see several things in parallel that all had in common. All of them required a professional military and administration to run things, and they all suffered from internal political dissent that they were unable to manage. So we'll have to look elsewhere in our search for good government, to another system. Finally, all three of them committed horrible atrocities against their subjects and their neighbors. They also had a positive effect in terms of facilitating the flow of goods, ideas, and people, allowing revolutionary ideas to expand to previously insular societies. And that's there to help you join me in 2 weeks' time for The Wig is Mightier Than the Sword, Parliamentary and Representative Government exam. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me afterwards. Thank you.
All right. Our next, 2 minutes to fill out the evaluation form. Our next evaluator, Prana Miller, will introduce our next speaker.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Susanna. Cheers. All right. Your voice has a major effect on your audience. A lively, exciting voice attracts and keeps listeners' attention. A speaking voice should be pleasant, natural, forceful, expressive, and easily heard. Orion's task is to use volume, pitch, and vocal variety in his speech. Pitch, variety, rate, and just kind of use his voice in as many ways as he can, with loud and soft and whatever else in between. So that's the vocal variety deal. That's what we're working with tonight. That's Project 6. Orion was raised in Fairfield and started meditating when he was 5. He taught meditation for 6 years and presented in front of many groups as a kid, or when he learned meditation. Last week we heard him speak on authentic movement, and this week with his vocal variety speech, he'll be focusing on expression is a choice, and the title of the speech is Expression is a Choice. Orion also graduated from the University of Iowa with a major in English and a minor in theater. He lives with bipolar disorder and now works to help others with mental illness recover. Someday he wants to be so good at public speaking that he can just deliver TED Talks professionally, and his goal is 2 years. That's where he's going to be in 2 years. So let's warmly welcome Orion for his vocal variety. Expression and choice. Yes.
two ways to act, with or without expression in the body, face, and voice. I'd like to compare those two, but first let me tell you the definition of expression. Expression is the process by which we show our feelings or our thoughts, and it's most often through the look on our face. Expression also can mean a phrase that conveys an idea, such as the expression, to have loved and lost. Also, there's a mechanical definition of expression, which is the production of something through pressing or squeezing. And I find that definition especially interesting because I've often felt in my life it's been hard for me to express myself, and when I do, I feel like I'm almost like trying to squeeze it out of me and press it out of me. There's three things in my life that I feel have contributed to it being hard to express myself. The first is I grew up doing transcendental meditation. I grew up in the TM community, and it's kind of frowned upon to express any emotion in the TM community except for joy or bliss, right? So any anger, any negative emotions are kind of looked down upon, and you shouldn't express those. You can feel them, but you can't really show them. And that was what started with my life. I learned to meditate when I was 5. But I also went to the North Carolina to see my dad one year when I was 14, and he had started his own meditation movement. And in his movement, people took what were called Ishaya vows. They became a monk of the Ishaya's ascension. And part of those vows says, what any thought, feeling, or emotion or desire that comes up, I will surrender back to God, to my experience of God, to the will of God. So instead of doing that, when I couldn't do that, I felt like I just suppressed those because I wanted people around me to think that I was doing that, you know? So I would have some desire to do something, or some anger would come up, and I just wouldn't show it because, no, I'm surrendered to God. I'm not going to deal with that. And the final thing is that I'm a middle child, and I'm sure some of you are also middle child. You can probably relate to that. My 2 younger siblings would often get more attention than me, and I would try to express myself to get more attention and get shut down a lot of the time. Also, my older brother, he was really expressive, like he was really eloquent in his expressions, and I felt a little bit inadequate around him, and so I kind of gave up trying to be like him because I was never going to reach his level. So there's pros and cons, there's pluses and minuses to being expressive and being non-expressive. So let's start with the pluses of being expressive, of being non-expressive. The main thing you get out of being non-expressive is you get to feel safe. There's a feeling of safety. When I was growing up, I had to do the dishes, and that was my job. And if I didn't do the dishes and I argued, I would get in trouble. And so to avoid conflict and to avoid that, to have that feeling of safety and to avoid conflict, I just wouldn't express myself. I wouldn't express that I didn't want to do them. I would just do them and just do it. And the same goes even when you're an adult and you're in a group with a lot of people and you decide, okay, so the majority vote wins, right? So you're going to this place and that's the majority vote, even if you don't want to do it, you're going. And if you don't, and you're with the group and you don't have a car or something to get home, you have to go anyway, you know? So that's like a plus of being non-expressive there and not fighting, you know, avoiding the conflict there. And the final example doesn't really apply to today's world too much, at least for the first world. It's just like back in the medieval times, if you're around a tyrannical king or queen and you were expressive and laughed or something, you might get your head cut off. So it might be like a genetic or an ancestral reflex to be non-expressive because of that, but I'm not really sure where it comes from. But for me, it was mostly just from my childhood not being expressive. And a plus to being expressive, pluses of being expressive, are that you get to be really connected with people in the moment with people. You get to be more in touch with your feelings and your desires. And you get to be more entertaining. You get to have vocal variety in your voice. And that, minus of being non-expressive is that you're kind of boring. And you talk kind of like this, and your head looks down a little bit, don't move your eyebrows, have the same monotone voice the whole speech. If I was speaking like this for the whole speech, you'd probably get kind of bored. There's boringness, but also if you're not expressive, you can get lonely, you can feel isolated, you get to hide when you're not expressive, you get to hide your feelings, so no one really knows that's another plus of non-expressive, no one really knows what you're feeling, so you can kind of be sneaky, and a lot of times in my life people never knew what I was thinking, and I kind of felt good about that. But at the same time, you might really want that connection, you might really want people to understand you, to feel understood, and you just don't get that because you don't give them a chance to understand you. And also you can have a lot of anger come up when you're non-expressive, and the anger is almost always self-directed, which can lead to depression. And finally, the minuses of expression are that you're taking more risks, so you could get hurt. You could get hurt more, and that's about it. I mean, that's the only minus I can think of, except you might, like in a social situation, you might be able to, sorry, I know there's one more, and I didn't want to miss it. Oh, yeah, you might get carried away by your emotions with being expressive, being too expressive. So it's said that there's two overarching personality types. You're either introverted or you're extroverted. And most of my life I've been introverted. But you can still be expressive when you're introverted. For example, here's a Pablo Neruda poem. I fly over you who walk, and suddenly in a whirling of wind feather claws I assault you and I lift you. In a whistling cyclone of hurricane cold I take you and fly above the world. Motionless on the heights, let us pounce upon this red prey. Let us tear life that passes throbbing and lift together our wild flight. I love acting. I was being a versatile actor there because I was putting my attention on my feet for that whole poem. So expression is great. Really the only benefit of non-expression is that you get to hide a little bit, and but expression gets you more connected to people and more connected with your emotions. So, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home, which would you choose? Thank you.
Now we have 2 minutes to fill out the evaluation form for Orion. All right, Mr. Timer, could you please tell us which of the speakers qualified for?
Michael and Will qualified.
All right. And for guests, this means that they were able to stay within the time limit in their talk. And now we'll be voting for best speaker, and so you'll be voting for either Marco or Will. Now we're moving on to a different section of our meeting, and this is the evaluation section, and also the impromptu speaking section. And to oversee this part of the program, I'd like to introduce Emery Styron, who's our general evaluator this evening.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good evening, guests, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. We'll get started right away here. I'd like to call our first evaluator, Leslie Hollis.
Fellow Toastmasters, Madam Toastmaster, honored guests and viewers at home, I'm evaluating Marco's speech. So was the speech relevant to the occasion selected? I thought it was very relevant. It was inspirational. He talked about going to an inspirational seminar that gave him a lot of energy, and did the speaker understand and express the feelings and needs of the audience? This is a tricky one, but I do think he touched on that. We can all relate to that experience of going to an event that we're excited about and being really tired because it may take a lot of our energy, but still feeling energized. So I thought that was effective. Was the speaker forceful and confident and positive? I do think there could have been a little bit more force at some points when you were talking about how enthusiastic you were to attend the event, like maybe like really bring us in, like how excited you were to be there. And in New York, you're in a big city, even though you don't know the city, that everything is all energizing. Did the speaker effectively use stories, anecdotes, and quotes to help convey his or her message? The sore hands, maybe you could have been like, oh, you know, how many people, 3,000? That's crazy. So yeah, sore hands, and then maybe you could have acted out like walking on the hot coals, because that's another crazy event. I don't understand how people can do that, but probably very effective to make you feel invincible. I mean, that's bare feet on hot coals, no thanks. Did the speaker's words convey strong, vivid mental images? Yes, again, the sore hands, the hot coals. There was one point when you told us how many people were there. You could have said like 14,000 people. That's insanity. That's like a small town. A very small town, but still, 14,000 people. Can't imagine that. Let's see. Okay, the hot coals. We talked about that. Did the speech uplift the audience? I think it did. I mean, it uplifted me. I don't know about the rest of you, but I felt very inspired, especially when you all asked us to give our lives away. I mean, that's a big one. But then you get it back, so pretty cool. What could the speaker have done differently to make the speech more effective? Again, just more of the gesturing. I thought the topic was very well suited for the goals, and it was a very relatable subject, and you brought what you learned from the seminar to inspire us. So thank you, Marco.
And our next evaluator, Dennis, to evaluate Will.
Thank you. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, everybody at home, just blank for a sec there, honored guests, and most importantly, Will, fantastic job. I love hearing about all the historical facts during your speech. Let's go over the main points first of all. Was the general purpose of Will's speech clear? Yes. I think he did an excellent job at defining the general purpose of the speech and that it's going to be relating to what good government should be, and giving us historical background and making it seem relevant from back then until today. Was the specific purpose of Will's speech clear? I would say that one was good. It could use some improvement. I think at the beginning, I think at some points could be a little bit more clear to tie into the conclusion. I think the 3 points you made at the conclusion were excellent. But if you could do something a little bit to tie it in, just to make it a little bit more of a versatile connection from beginning to end, I think that's one part I noticed for improvement. Otherwise, very well done. The specific ideas were very clearly defined, I think, to our audience. The speech organization was supported by the speech's specific purpose. Yes, I think the points you made were very well informed and informative for our audience and for myself. The main points and supporting material contributing to the speech's specific purpose. Yes, I think the body was full of really good historical examples, and I really like how you tied different facts in until today. I think that was one really strong point of your speech overall. Say, you talked about how, say, in the Roman Empire, they may have had only 1.5% had so many slaves, and then it ties into, say, today when there's the concept of the 1% has been very frequently talked about here since Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street movement. I think was a beginning, body, and conclusion reinforced a specific purpose? Yes. Did the speaker achieve the specific purpose? Yes, definitely. Very well done with your research. Did the speaker appear confident and sincere with minimal nervousness? Yes, very well done. Even when I forgot to go over the points, the main points at the beginning, I really like how you used some humor to make sure you're paying attention closely to everything. Even when you forgot at one point, you went on one side a little bit early, you used a sense of humor to adapt to a situation. Very good versatility on that skill. You just really had that. I'm just trying to be all fancy with my words. the speaker, did he not rely on notes? No, he did rely on notes. That's the main thing I say improve on. If you could just make it a little bit more of a flow by not using notes. Otherwise, excellent facts. You really nailed it with facts. I really like how you talk about the Russian frontier, about Roman Empire, and about the Mongol. Excellent. Thank you. Well done, Mark.
And our final evaluator, Ryan Miller.
Thank you. Back, as I promised. Orion, where are you? There you are. I liked your speech a lot. I liked how you, the topic, self-expression is a great topic. Everybody can relate to that. I liked the amount of movement in your speech. You were up here, this is your stage, you get to use it, and I think you had some good movement across the stage throughout the entire speech. You started off strong. I forget the exact words you used when you started off, but I think you got everyone's attention when you started off. You had varying volume, definitely, vocal variety with your Pablo Neruda poem. I think the whole room you covered the entire room with your voice, if that's possible. I just heard varying vocal variety, which is great. Your rate was mostly varied, satisfactory, I give you that. Pitch, felt like it was definitely a conversation. You're up here in a one-sided conversation, but we were listening, you were talking. It was a good conversational speech. I felt comfortable with your, I guess just the rate at which you were speaking was comfortable for, what am I saying? I guess it was easy to listen to. Pauses, appropriate, effective. Maybe a few more pauses in between, like just your words throughout the speech. Like when you got into that Pablo Neruda poem, maybe I would have just kind of collected. I mean, you had all the words, right? You did the whole poem, but just kind of like build up for that poem and just have a pause in there. Before that, I would also say your organization had a logical flow of ideas, your word usage, vivid, definitely vivid. You had that one image of the punishment for something. I don't remember, there's some punishment, getting your head cut off, pretty vivid. And I think also, the whole thing with the ancestors, the genetic ancestral desire to not express ourselves. I mean, there's probably a lot of reasons besides, a lot of, women's rights and slavery. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to not express yourself in the world. So, political strife. So it's good to have some hope for reasons to express yourself. I mean, just this day and age with Trump and all the, I'm not going to get political, but I just think there's some great reasons to express yourself, and I think you highlighted that, reasons and strategies. Body language, you had, like I said, the movement on stage. You were up here, I think you used kind of like the three locations on stage. And I don't really have any recommendations for you besides what I've said. And you didn't use notes, so that's for that. I'm using notes, so that's great. Good job.
We'll now move into the impromptu speaking section of our meeting. Oh.
According to our schedule, we're done.
What?
We're supposed to be done with table topics.
We're supposed to be done with table topics?
We have the next step.
So do we not have time for any table topics?
This is the beginning of table topics, 8:40.
He's referring to the actual time on the clock. Is I guess that the Toastmaster.
At 8:52 on the schedule, we're supposed to be voting for the best table topic.
Right. That's correct.
Okay.
That's in 1 minute.
Okay. Sounds like Mr. Denbaum would like us to dispense with table topics for the sake of time. If that be the case, we will then ask our timer to tell us which evaluators qualify.
All the evaluators qualified, that is Leslie, Dennis, and Ryan, all qualified.
Okay. So please vote for your best evaluator. We'll now move into the report section of the meeting. Mr. Timer, will you give us your report?
So, Marco, he spoke for 9 minutes, 47 seconds. Will, 10 minutes, 30 seconds, exactly at the limit. And Orion, 7 minutes, 56 seconds. For the evaluators, Leslie spoke for 3 minutes, Dennis for 3 minutes, 23 seconds, and Ryan for 3 minutes, 20 seconds. That's all.
Thank you. Dr. Marion Manoli.
So I took note of colorful usage of words, and here are the speeches. Marco said, everything is energy, it's all around us, and everyone should be expressing the greatest version of themselves. Will said, the 1% of the population stay stronger throughout history. And Orion said, if you're more expressive, more in touch with your true feelings, and closer to more people. And a lot of people use the word of the day, which is versatile. Fraser, Kasha, Orion, Susanna, and Dennis all use the word of the day. Good job, Rick.
Thank you. Alex, all candidates report.
Really hard to find anything wrong with you guys, but I guess I have to. Fraser, in the beginning, I count 1 so and 2 Xeroxes. Marco, 1 so, but I think he used it well, and I don't even really want to write it down, but I had to. Orion, 3 ahs, 2 so's, and I think there was a couple Xeroxes. Leslie, 1 Prana, quite a few ums. I counted 7, and 2 ahs. And there may be some of you disagree, but you guys did a really good job, and it was really hard to find anything wrong. Back to Emery.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from our joke master, greeter, humorist, Kashif.
Time for some humor. I have a few jokes here. I hope you will enjoy them. So, a man went to the police station and asked to speak to the burglar who broke into his house the night before. "You will get your chance in the court," said the desk sergeant. No, said the man. "I want to know how he got into the house without waking my wife. I have been trying to do that for years." Second, a man turned to his seatmate on a flight and asked, "Does the airline charge you extra for sitting next to good-looking man?" "Yes," she said, "but I wasn't willing to pay more." Mr. Clark, I have reviewed this case very carefully, the divorce court judge said, and I have decided to give your wife $775 a week. "That's very fair, Your Honor," the husband said, "and every now and then I will try to send her a few bucks myself." If time allows, I have one more, and I don't want to offend anybody. It's a blonde joke, if you allow me. Otherwise, blonde joke. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Okay. A blonde calls Delta Airlines and asks, "Can you tell me how long it will take to fly from San Francisco to New York City?" The agent replies, "Just a minute." "Thank you," the blonde says and hangs up.
Thank you, Christine. We may have you back next week. Time for a few general evaluator comments about the meeting. I think it's very obvious that we did not do a good job of starting on time or adhering to our schedule. So from Mr. President, kicking things off, what I've seen in the past is when you get up there and rap the gavel, you start things. Don't wait for the people to be ready. You call it to order and get things moving, and they'll fall into place. One of the places we got off track was in our introductions. I believe in each case the evaluator giving the introduction either had way too much material to deal with and didn't condense it, or just wasn't really well prepared to do that. So all of us need to think about that the next time we're an evaluator, myself included, and read that material when it's emailed to you and take a look at it again when you get here and be ready to give a quick introduction. And you are not in any way bound to read everything that the person sent you. Select. Okay, to the evaluators. Leslie, was this your first evaluation? Yes. Nice job. You were a little nervous, a lot of leg crossing kind of up here, and low tone, which in general you do. And so I'd like to hear you be more forceful. You used the manual. You gave some excellent suggestions to Marco, like hamming up the sore hand and walking on hot coals. So good job. You're just a little hesitant and tentative, but you'll get past that with practice. Dennis, you used the manual. You gave some suggestions, but I wasn't quite clear exactly what you were asking Will to do. So maybe he understood it, but I didn't. So, but one suggestion was really clear: rely less on notes, or don't use notes. So that came loud and clear. Very difficult speech to do without notes, but that's the bar that was set. Prana, you had lots of positives, which is always good in any evaluation. We want to make people feel good, so they'll want to speak again. You used the manual. You did tend to look down quite a bit, and seemed like you could have come up with one or two recommendations for Orion. That's how we all improve, is to get those recommendations. So that's my evaluation. So I'd like to turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Suzanne.
This is a very fulfilling part of the evening where we give out the awards. The best speaker for this evening was is Marco. And the best evaluator for this evening is Leslie. There we go. Not a piece of paper, it's an actual award ribbon. And then we did not have a best table topics awardee. However, we have a Get to the Point Competent Communication Project 3. I guess that person
It's
didn't
okay.
come. Okay, sorry about this. Okay. We had an Inspire Your Audience speaker. I believe that was Marco's talk. Is that correct? And a researcher topic. Is that Will? Orion? Oh, your vocal variety. Somehow that ribbon isn't here. I apologize. We'll get it for you at the end. And now, for the conclusion, I'll turn the meeting back over to our president, Dennis.
Okay. First of all, is there any business from anybody else in general? Yep.
Do you have an update on the contest dates?
Yes. The contest date for division is likely to be on the 30th of September. September 30th will be the date. For the area contest, we are going to be hosting it right here in our place, and we're likely to have it on the 19th. And that's the business I want to bring up to you guys, is that would all of you be okay with us pushing up the club contest to the 12th of September 12th? And if we do that, we will be giving those who win the area contest will have more time to prepare for our division contest.
I make a motion to move our meeting to September 12th.
September 12th it is.
Yes.
Is there a second? And are majority of you okay with that?
Aye.
It will work. Okay. No objections? Okay, we're gonna do it. Our club contest will be the 12th of September. And so there are 2 categories on that. I would like to reiterate that to make sure everybody's clear. There's a humorous category, and then there is the evaluation category. I'll double check on the time of it. I think we have 5 to 7 minutes, I believe, on it, but I'll double check if it's 8 to 10.
Just to be clear, we're talking club contest 12th, and then the area contest on the 19th?
Yep. Club contest on the 12th, area contest on the 19th, the following Tuesday, and then the division contest for those winners will be on the 30th. That, I believe that's a Saturday, if I'm thinking of it right. So those are the dates to remember. Be sure you all write that down, and if it's not, please let me know. I'm going to be sending out an email to all of our members about that in general also. So that's one thing for sure we will need to be on time too. Is there any other questions though in general about the contest?
It's really important. There are 2 important positions for that contest that we have to come up with. One is the contest chair, which is like the Toastmaster, and equally important is the chief judge. So I would hope that people will step forward to take those 2 positions as soon as possible and let our president know, because you have to learn how to do those positions, review the manual, the contest manual, do those positions right.
Yeah, I think that'd be good if whoever would be interested in that position, they can talk with me after this meeting, and then we can go over it together also. Is there any other business regarding that club contest? Any questions about it? About the humorous and eval category? One thing I like to everybody note on is that the requirements are that there's not a requirement as far as I understand. I asked some people last week when I was at a officers training session. There's really no requirement in terms of how many speeches you've made. The main thing is you need to be a member in good standing, which means you've paid your dues. Paid your dues, and we must have at least 8 members in good standing in this club, which I believe we do. It means that 8 members have paid on time, and that's registered in the system. Yep.
Are there any requirements, any prerequisites for the chief judge or the, what's the name of the Toastmaster?
Contest chair.
Contest chair?
That I'll double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. So, anything else on it? I believe it's in October, isn't it?
By the end of September. If anybody wants to pay anytime between now and then, I, your treasurer, will gladly accept.
So you can give us a week club contest. By the date of the club contest, anyone who is current with his dues right today
That's
is still eligible for good standing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you paid your dues as of today, then you're in good standing. That's all clear then? Anything else on that? Another main thing I'll reiterate quick is I think next meeting, anybody who's late after 7:40, I think I'm just going to start the meeting at 7:40. I've been a bit too relaxed, I think, about that for sure with everybody. And anybody who doesn't show up on time, I'll probably find a replacement. Whichever officers will be here, we'll find a replacement for that role. Because we don't want to be waiting for anybody showing up late. That's how we're probably going to have to do things. So we'll have to be more strict on that, I think.
Just a point of discussion. I think we generally have gavelled to start a meeting at 7:45.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's got to be in place, and all the rooms got to be set up. And all the role players, we should all try to get here at 7:40 because then we know that we've got all the roles covered. They'll have the last minute drill. But I think my understanding is generally the meeting gavels in at 7:45. Is there any discussion on that? That was discussion.
Okay.
If I were Toastmaster and I'm in charge of making sure the meeting runs smoothly, then at 7:40, I'm looking for replacements. If you're not here at 7:40 and I'm the Toastmaster, you're going to be replaced.
Yep.
Because I can't take a chance on having you not show up.
Yeah, I think that's how we'll have to do things. That's good. I think that's what we're going to follow next week. Those who come in after 7:40 will be replaced. Everybody needs to be here at 7:40, otherwise we'll start without that role. I mean, with a replacement for that role. Other than that, guess, what did you think of the meeting?
Can I?
Yep.
I really like the clapping because it really encourages everybody. That was really good. A lot of enthusiasm and encouragement by clapping. To be truthful, I felt evaluation can be more critical, but I'm not sure whether it is really, can we be very critical or we have to be nice? Because I felt it was very nice critical comments, but not real critical comments. That's what I felt. So I really want to know what is the policy and how it works, whether we can be really critical or we have to be like strike the balance. So just wanted to know, because I think it's to improve, right? We are here to be a good speaker. So I really want to know about that part. Other than that, I really enjoyed the entire meeting. versatile roles, plays, and role plays. I really enjoyed all of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're a natural. You're using our word of the day already. Well done. Yeah, I really like your point about that. I think that's something we can all improve on, being a little bit more critical to the point, spending more time on suggestions versus compliments. I think that's a good point. That. Any other business? That adjourns the meeting. Thank you.